Good morning, fellas. And, I got love for you, but it's time for some tough love. It's time for some real honesty, and it's time for some truth. Listen, the women are not the problem. The women are not your problem. The reason that you can't find a good, quality, attractive, loyal woman to start your family with and to walk down the aisle with and all these other kind of things, it's not the women's fault that you can't secure that. That is your fault. The women are not the problem. You're the problem. There's nothing wrong with the merchandise. There's a problem with the buyer. Like, for example, I can't go to the Chevy dealership trying to buy a Corvette and all I got is $2,500 cash. And I'm trying to get a 2024 Corvette. And then when I don't have access to a 2024 Corvette with my $2,500, I start talking about what's wrong with the market and what's wrong with the dealership and what's wrong with the manufacturer, what's wrong with Corvettes. There's nothing wrong with Corvettes. I'm just not in a position to acquire one because I don't have what I need to acquire one. There's nothing wrong with the merchandise. There's a problem with the purchaser of the merchandise. So, fellas, let me walk you through what your problem is right off the rip. For a lot of you, your main problem is very simple. Your main problem is you want something, you desire something, you need something, but you refuse to admit just how much you need it. But let's be real. Men need women. A lot of guys don't want to accept that. They want to deny that. They want to be all in their pride and ego. See, they have no problem admitting that women need men. But when it's time to admit that men need women, oh, we don't need no women. Oh, if women disappear today, we can live out. No, stop. Men need women. It was designed to be so. All men need companionship. They need to be nurtured. They need to be loved. They need to be respected. They need to be cared for. They need something soft in their life to balance everything out. They need somewhere where they can unwind and decompress. They need somebody that's going to look after them and care for them. They need the kind of love that a woman gives a man. As a man, you are operating at your peak, at your optimum level of operation when you have that quality woman with you. So yes, you need a woman. And part of the reason why you can't secure one is because you're trying to acquire what you need while refusing to admit that you need it. Ego is one of the things that's holding a lot of you guys back. Because here it is, you need this thing. You have to have this thing. This thing is important to you. This thing is going to make life more enjoyable for you. It's going to give your life more fulfillment and more meaning. And you know deep down that you're consumed by having this thing, but you don't even want to admit it. All the time you spend online talking about what's wrong with the women and what's wrong with the laws, and we need to change this and change that. And we need to do this and do that. All this talk is about how can we legally change things, or how can we culturally change things so that we can get women to do what we want them to do, but then you want to turn around and say you don't need a woman. Listen, if you really believed that you didn't need women, you wouldn't be online constantly concocting and thinking about ways to change laws to get women to do and be what you want them to be. But you're doing all this talking and speculating and conversating with other men about what's wrong with the women and how they're not doing what you want them to do and how you can try and influence or force them to do what you want them to do. And if you really listen to what guys are saying, what are they saying? What they really want women to do is to respect them, love them, and be loyal to them. That's what guys are saying. They want an attractive, sweet woman that's going to be there for them unconditionally. That's what they want. These dudes want to be married. Like, that's just what it is, right? And so part of the reason you can't get what you want to get is just right off the rip, pride. Here's this thing that you need and you desire, and the need and desire for it is consuming your entire life to the point where you're spending most of your time online talking about this thing because that's how much you need it. But yet you want to be in your pride and act like you don't. So a lot of your pride is directly getting in the way of what it is that you can have. That's why I say the problem isn't the woman, the problem is you. Because here it is, you clearly have a longing, burning desire for this woman, but you want to be prideful, as if we can't see it all over you that that's what it is. So the only person you're fooling is yourself. Instead of you humbling yourself and figuring out what I need to do to put myself in position to acquire what I want to acquire, I want to complain about it all day, every day, but at the same time, I also want to be in my pride. It don't work like that. You pick one or the other. So that's the first thing. The problem, like, listen, fellas, I'm going to just say it to you plainly. On earth, there are billions of women. Just in the United States, there are millions of women. As a matter of fact, right now, currently, in this country, upwards of 40 to 45% of all adult women are single and they don't have kids. 40 to 45%. Literally millions of women in this country are unmarried and childless. If you can't figure out a way to acquire one woman, because that's all you need a woman, singular, one. If you can't find a woman with the millions of them who are single and don't have children, that's not a woman problem, that's a you problem. And this goes into the second thing. First is pride and ego. The second thing is your selection process and what you have an appetite and a desire for. A lot of you guys, you have not been able to switch off your fleshly selection process. Right? We live in a casual sex, extremely sexualized culture, right? You get on Instagram, there's women practically naked. You get on Twitter, women practically naked. Every TV show and movie, women are practically naked. You go out to the bars or the restaurants or the clubs, women are practically naked. So for the longest of times, you have been conditioned to lust after and desire women who look a particular way, carry themselves a particular way, and dress a particular way. You have been programmed to focus almost solely on these particular women. That's why, as much as guys say they don't like women who are naked, they don't like women who sleep around, they don't like IG models, those are the very women who have the biggest followings and get the most attention. Because as much as you say you don't like it, you have not yet reprogrammed your mind to not desire out and seek for that. And so that's also how it's your fault and your problem. Because a lot of you, if you're just being 100% honest, you have an unwavering desire for the wrong woman. This is what it is. And so it's not women's fault overall that 2 million of you are all following behind Bernice Burgos. That's not women's fault. That's your fault. It's not women's fault overall that millions of you are following behind Drea Michelle. That's not women's fault. It's not women's fault overall that you're on Pornhub and you're going to the strip club and you're following 10, 15 different IG models and they all got over 100,000 followers. It's not women's fault that you spend so much time looking at the same type of woman. And at this point, a lot of them, they're getting the same surgery, so they have the same body types. They're also getting things done to their face, so they're having the same facial structures. They do the same poses. They have the same captions. That's not women's fault overall. That's what you are so drawn into and you pay so much attention to that. And now, in your everyday life, you are looking for that. And now when you come across regular, like a lot of you can't even necessarily see quote unquote regular women. Because you have put these images in your head so much and so often that you can't even, there's women right around you, all around you, and you're looking past them because they don't fit this programmed image in your mind. Like, let's just keep it real. It's not the women's fault that you have programmed a certain image in your mind about women and you are super focused on that particular looking type of woman. That's not women's fault. It is not women's fault that you don't necessarily have a set of morals, values, and principles that guide and govern where you go, who you give attention to, who you pay attention to, and who you completely ignore. Because if we're just keeping it all the way real, if you, within yourself, said, you know what? I believe in A, B, C, and D. I don't believe in D, E, F, and G. And I'm not coming off of that no matter how good the woman looks or anything like that. And so when I meet a woman and we start talking, we're going to start talking about what we believe in. And I'm going to start looking at how she acts and how she behaves and how she carries herself. And regardless of how physically attractive she is, if her principles do not align with my principles, I'm not even going to engage with her. There's not going to be a whole bunch of dates. There's not going to be a whole bunch of hookups. It's not going to be a whole bunch of sex. I'm going to early on figure out what her morals, values, beliefs, and standards are, and I'm going to compare them to mine. And if they don't equal out, I'm not even going to deal with her. A lot of you guys, you're not doing that. Your one standard for women is how does she look and how interested is she in having sex with you. And you figure out all the rest later. But if you actually had some morals and values and principles that you stood on and stood by no matter what, then guess what? it would be a lot easier for you to find a woman for you to be with, because you wouldn't waste your time with all the ones that don't qualify. Because all it takes is a couple of conversations, and a lot of times not even that, for you to just straight up disqualify women who don't measure up to what you believe in. And so you would avoid a whole lot of the issues, the problems, and the drama, and you would filter through women a lot quickly, and you would find one for you. But brothers, once again, it is not your woman problems, your inability to find a quality woman and a wife and all of that. That's not women's problem. That's not women's fault. That is your fault. Because first of all, once again, you just need to be honest with yourself about, hey, I need a woman's touch in my life. Just be honest with yourself about that. You need to deprogram yourself from lusting after and desiring a certain type of woman, even though you know deep down that that type of woman is the opposite of what you're supposed to be going for, but you can't get that image out of your head, so you're still hyper-focused on the wrong type of woman, and then you want to try and acquire her and make her into something else. And that's not just looks, but it's also mentality and behavior. So that's two things: your pride, and then the images that you've been programmed into believing that you refuse to let go of. And then the third thing, not really having any morals, values, and standards that you operate by no matter what, that you can compare and contrast to what the woman is on, and quickly eliminate and filter through women. And then the last thing, and you really see this online with a lot of guys, a lot of you guys, your issue is you're putting the cart before the horse. You're spending all this time online, and you're not really living up to your full potential in your life. You're spending all this time talking about what's wrong with the women and what needs to be changed with the women, and the women this and the women that, and the culture this and the society and the gynocracy and the matriarchy and misandry and the emotional labor of men. And you're doing all this talk and this statistic and that 80-20 rule and then the whore. And you're hyper focused on the woman's problem, so much so that you're not even putting enough energy to discovering and recognizing and reaching your full potential. And so a lot of you can't get into the situation that you desire to get into with women because you're not in a position to add to the woman's life. Because once again, instead of you focusing on leveling yourself up and being the best version of yourself, you're hyper-focused on what the woman is doing wrong. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're online for 2-3 hours in the middle of a day on a weekday, you're not recognizing your full potential. Because, bro, you're in your 30s. Why do you have all this free time in the middle of the day, Monday through Friday? Like, let's keep it real. That's part of you guys' problem. You are so hyper-focused on what's wrong with the woman and what the woman needs to change, that what the woman needs to do and what the woman needs to change has become more important to you than you working on yourself. You trying to change the woman to what you want and quote and what you think you need her to be has become more important than you becoming the best version of you. Your progress, you reaching your full potential, has taken a back seat, and what's wrong with woman has taken the front seat in your life. You getting your stuff off about this woman has become the priority, and you handling your business has become a secondary mission for you. So those are the 4 reasons why you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish with women. Those are the 4 reasons why your woman problems are your fault, not the woman's fault. If you can't acquire the woman that you want to acquire, that's your fault, not the woman's fault. It's something that you are doing wrong, not the woman. Straight up.